Today, we're going to talk about our very last type of text structure that we're going to be studying this year. Um, I was trying to decide if I want to go back and review what we've done so far. If you'll remember, we have done cause and effect, how one action creates another reaction or another action. We've done compare and contrast, where we see how things, people, plot lines, character settings, all the things. We've figured out how to compare to see if they're similar, or contrast to see if they're unlike each other. We've done descriptive writing and learned how to describe objects and places, settings, people. Um, we have talked about, yesterday, we talked about problem solution, where you're presented with a problem and offered sometimes more than one solution, sometimes a good solution, sometimes a terrible solution. We talked about chronological order, how we tell stories in order that they happened, in time order, because none of us have a time machine that I'm aware of. So that's the only way we can experience things is in order. Today, we're going to be talking about something that we don't read a whole lot of in literature, but it's very handy for us to have. You read every single day in my class. You read something that is written in a sequence or process writing. Okay. So sequence is information that's listed step by step. So if you're a face-to-face student, at the end of every single one of my every single one of my classes, I put on the screen a giant list of things that you should do, and they're always numbered because you can't start at the bottom. The last thing on my list is always things you get to choose to do if you're done with everything. You have to start at number one and work your way down. So that's sequence writing. It's putting things in the order that they should happen, or the way you want them to happen. Um, so your information is listed in sequential writing, sequential or sequence, step by step. It explains how to do it or how something happens. You read a lot of sequence writing when you're looking at science experiments, um, or when you're conducting a science experiment. So either you're going to be told how something happens, like what's the process for um, when a volcano explodes, like what are the steps that happen before the big explosion happens. Or if you're completing a science experiment, you're given steps to know what you need to do and in what order, and you better do them in that order, or sometimes dangerous things can happen if you do things out of order. So those are two more places we might see sequence writing. Um, this is a terrible example of sequence writing, but I want to use it because I want to show you something. Let me back up and say, in sequence writing, information is listed step by step, and if it's getting you to do something, giving you directions for something, often those steps are going to be numbered. And we all know the order numbers come in. Miss Mays will be very proud of you for that. You need to stick to that order, okay? Now, when I read a recipe, the people that write the recipes assume that I have been in a kitchen before. They assume that I may know things that they assume that I know things that I may or may not know, quite honestly. Um, we're going to be doing a project today where you're going to be writing some instructions, and I'm going to ask you to assume that I know nothing. But let's look at this example. So here we have some directions. Crack a few eggs. Well, I mean, I can go to my refrigerator and open the eggs and just get a little hammer and crack, 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 crack all of them and then put them back in the fridge. Let's see what the next step is. Add cheese. So now I'm going to assume this is going to be a recipe, and I need to crack a few eggs into a bowl and then add some cheese into that bowl and then cook them on one side. This sounds like a recipe for an omelet, but they're assuming that I understand a whole lot of things. These are the steps that I need to take, but I need to be very clear with my expectations if I'm writing to tell someone what to do. You need to crack a few eggs and in the bowl keep the yolk and the white of the egg, toss the shell, right? And I need to know, I mean, a few in my head is 3, a couple is 2, add one more, you have a few, 3, add cheese. I don't think I should go get a giant block of cheese and just drop it in with the eggs. I think they probably mean some shredded cheese. They're assuming that I have made an omelet before. And then they're telling me to cook it on one side, but they never told me if I'm cooking it in the oven or if I'm putting it in my Instapot or if I should pour it into my toaster or so you understand that while these are sequence steps I need to follow, they're not really good steps. They're not telling me everything I need to know. And I wanted to give you a bad example because I want you to write a good example for me in just a minute. And here we are correct. It was an omelet. So after we cook it on one side, we're going to flip it over. Sorry, I just had a funny vision in my head of flipping the entire frying pan over. Again, it's important that you're very clear in your steps. This is not chronological order. This is not a story telling you what happened in the order that it happened. This is steps that they're trying to, they're telling you what to do or telling you what has happened. It's not something that has to happen at a specific time. This sequence of events is for any time I want to fix an omelet. The steps to a science project are to be used anytime I'm sitting down to work on a science project. Telling you about my day is not something that you're just going to pull out and go, oh, what am I going to do today? Well, let's see what Miss Gilbert did yesterday. That's not the way those stories work, right? That would be weird if you tried to get up and follow my day step by step. This is for following directions or for figuring out what needs to happen in what order to get to your final result. Okay, let me explain just a little bit more here. So today you're going to be asked to complete the sequential text structure practice page. You need to type your name as always. First, you're going to read a story and you're going to pay attention to the sequence of events, the things that he had to do from first to last. Okay. Then you're going to come down here and I have pulled out 8 of those events here. And you're going to tell me if they were the first thing, the second thing, the third thing, the fourth thing, all the way through the 8th thing. So if the very first thing he did was show one of his new pictures to dad, you're going to choose the first bubble. That's all. So you're only going to have one thing in the first column. Only one thing can happen first. And this thing can only happen at one time. So you're going to have one bubble per column, one bubble per row. Okay. They are in order here. So once you scroll down and you can't see the top anymore, you just count 1, 2, 3. If that's fourth, I'm going to put it fourth. Okay. So that's how you're going to show me what the sequence of events were in this story. And the story's right here. Please go back and look at it. You will not be able to do this without going back to look at it. Now we're going to get to the part that I think is the fun part. I want you to write step-by-step directions for doing something or for making something. I'm going to tell you that this can be your choice. I understand that we are all different people. And sometimes when teachers say, it's your choice, choose what you want to do, half of you are going, yes, I get to make a choice, I get to do what I want to do. And the other half of you are going, oh, please just tell me what to do so I can get it done. I get it. So these are your choices. Choose what you want to make and give me directions to make it. That can be a craft. That can be a recipe. It can be anything, actually, anything that you can do. If you don't want to think of something on your own, then I want you to write step-by-step directions for making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. I would like to point out some obstacles in your way for making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, okay? If you don't tell me to take the lid off the jar, I might not know to do that. And if I'm spreading peanut butter on the bread, I hope you told me to take the bread out of the bag first. Do you understand? I want legitimate step-by-step directions. Pretend I have never made a sandwich before. I've never been in my kitchen before. Pretend those things. Okay. So you're going to write your answer here. Let me go back here, make sure I'm not leaving things out. You're going to write step-by-step directions for doing something or making something. This can be your choice. If you can't think of anything or you just want to be told what to do, I support that. Then you may write step-by-step directions for making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And you're watching this video now. Remember to number your steps. If you are able to do something, whatever you're doing in 3 steps, then it's not enough. Your sequential writing should have at least 6 steps, probably more. Okay? But in your answer here, you're going to type number 1. Sorry about my typing. Get out the loaf of bread, the jar of peanut butter, the jar of jelly, a plate, and a knife. How about we say a butter knife instead of like a butcher knife? Okay, then go to your second step. That's what it should look like. If you're choosing to do the peanut butter and jelly, you can steal my first one. That's not cheating. That's using your resources. If you want to write it your own way, that's also fine. Okay. Before Corona, I used to love to take these directions from students and then do exactly what they told me to do in class. Never once have I gotten a perfect peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Don't assume I know anything. Okay. Assume I have never made a sandwich before. If you need any help, please email me. I'm happy to help you, but I won't give you the answers. I want you to figure out how to do this. Somebody once said, this is your last tip. Somebody once said, Miss Gilbert, I had a really hard time with this assignment. So I went and made a peanut butter and jelly sandwich and wrote down everything I did as I did it. And that way they didn't leave anything out. And that's the closest I've ever gotten to the perfect step-by-step directions for a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, down to the washing of the knife when they were done. They did a really good job. That's the only way I've gotten a good one before. So if you need a snack, now's the time to do that. All right, let me know if you need some help.